All right, welcome back. Here we are, episode number 3. And of course, we're still here, copper. And once we get our rods in the water, I will go through. We've got a lot of messages from the first 2 episodes that would be worth reading and talking about, especially while we're waiting for bites. But first, let me do what I'm here to do. So we have 96 silver. I realized that we never got those 24 hooks. I also wanted to see, okay, so what level do you have to be to start using carp hooks? Level 12, that's 2 more levels. So what if we get, so we can get these in large 1 as well. So for now, we'll just get regular large 1 hooks. One of the suggestions that was given multiple times was, why don't you use large 1 hooks instead of the 4s that came with the trip? Basically, I think the idea is that will hopefully put us in range to catch some higher quality fish, even if it doesn't obviously help the bite rate necessarily. It also may not hurt the bite rate because we're just kind of wanting to wait for the right fish. All right, so right now we're going to go put these new hooks we just got, 24s, and we're going to put worms. All right, let's go with maybe 12 clip. I actually can't remember, to be honest with you, exactly what the rough clip was. I'm just really curious if this spot is still active. So let's just get these out here one way or another. Oh yeah, even free to play has, and we'll do red worm on this one. 12 clip. I want to say I cast like a little more right when I was going for rough. And then we'll go with, I think, regular worm on this one. Because both worm and red worm should work on this. Cool. All right, so let's see if this brings in any fish, how active it is. Let me also pull up the episode 1 and episode 2 so that we can talk about some of your wonderful comments since starting this series. All right, here's episode 1. And here's episode 2.
How to start.
All right, so we'll go 1. All right, so we've got quite a few to read through, but let me see if we are in fact getting any rough bites. It looks like we're not. This spot could have changed pretty dramatically. While we're sitting here, let me go ahead before we, because once we're fishing for carp, that's when or for larger fish, that's when we really we'll have time to settle in for me reading the comments. Right now, it might not be the time because we're not going to necessarily stay here very long, especially if the rough aren't active. All right, so I'm pulling up right now. What I'm doing is pulling up a couple things. One is Copper Lake, the newest reports on VK at least. A lot of them have to do, the 3 spots I've seen still most recently is 5660, which is that clip 10 spot we've tried, and we'll probably go back there and try again. Also 6162, which I talked about last time that might be worth us trying. And then the new one is 3732 with a 30-meter clip, and that's way down at the south side of the map. A lot of people are doing really well. If I wasn't so tied up in challenges on my main account during the streams, I probably would have tried that as well. Okay, if we don't have a rough by now, okay, it looks like we might. Let's see if we have one and how many we have. All right, so there's 1. We get bottom percent, and it qualifies for feeder task. Apparently, that is the first rough we've caught, which, you know, is quite the shame, if I'm being honest. Rod 2 also has them, so these little guys are so small Oh, that opens up. Wait, why did that open up? Oh, because we caught it on red worm. So that was a new challenge, what am I trying to say? Achievement. Because I don't think we just got to a certain spot. No, 11.3 on bottom fishing wouldn't have unlocked anything. So all 3 rods had fish on them. So while we are waiting for the next 3, hopefully fish that we'll catch, let's run to town really quick. Notice that none of these are markers. So if the cafe order is only for markers, then we can probably go ahead and stop. I mean, the one nice thing is that it does seem like we're getting a decent bite rate, which means we will, so they have to be 40 grams and we need 6 of them. We could try to do these Crucian Gibble Roach orders. They're all worth a ton of silver. Again, for us to be this low level at Copper Lake, everything, even when we're not doing great, everything is worth a decent amount of silver for, you know, being a low level new account, basically. All right, I think we can just go ahead and head to the other spot. All right, hold on. I'm going to actually throw it back in because that was a 49 gram one. What if we have fish on all 3 rods again? And what if like 2 out of 3 are big enough? Okay, hold on. Wow. All 3 of them. Okay. Okay. Shady Meadow. It is kind of nice that we have a such a good bite rate during happy hour. Not that we, you know, at this low a level, we would be leveling up our skills constantly anyway. I don't know what's happening with my connection to this game, but anything that can require having to load something, sometimes it's like it goes quick, but sometimes it either takes forever or doesn't ever even work. And that's really just been since just before Copper's update. I think it was happening some back before Copper came out, actually. All right, it's 7:32 in the morning. I mean, at some point, these fish are going to stop biting for us. Rough Will. That one looked a little small to me. See, even this, look at the scrolling. If anybody's got any ideas, I would love to know. Now, it doesn't usually do this when I'm catching a fish. I mean, it has done it a couple times, but it's pretty rare. Ooh, wow. Maybe the servers just went down? Hold on, let me look at this. Yeah, so it completely disconnected me from the game, but I have been able to log back in. It looks like we are reconnected, at least in some way. And there's a perch. The time we lost on that being logged out may cost us... Oh, crap. We don't have a clip on this rod. It's funny, it's like everything reset. I mean, we did still have the fish, but the rods reset back to the way they were before that happened. I'm not exactly sure how stable a connection we have to this game right now. But we're trying to make it work. Okay, so we'll give it another minute or two and see how it goes. But we really, at this point, we probably should move over to the other side, I would say. The interesting thing is we did get half of them, which if we're still on, oh, there's an eye. We're just getting all kinds of weird things right now. Okay. If we're still on when it gets to be nighttime again, maybe we could come over here and finish the order, but let's check and see. Actually, you know what we should be doing? We should be switching these out. Yeah, weren't we gonna make a new... I was thinking about making a new ground bait. What was I going to base it on? Carp ground bait. So we were going to do maggots, corn, vanilla. Maggots, corn, vanilla. Do we have those ingredients already? Maggots, corn, vanilla. This is carp ground bait. And maybe to be on the safe side, I mean, I think we can do it with both, but... yeah, let's just do ground crackers to be on the safe side. I think that's the more neutral option. All right. So we're going to do 10-meter clip over there. Let me change this really quick. I'm going to give garlic dough a try here. And I'm sure as I read through the comments in a minute, there will be some reminders of some of the other suggestions that people had, which might sort of jog my memory and I'll try something else. But let's just get over there. Again, let's check the cafe just to see how much time's left on the rough, just out of curiosity. Let's check the fish market because I want to see how much these small rough sell for, the small marker size ones. All right, on the rough order, we have plenty of time, and that's like 40 silver just for that little thing. Those are big perch. Those are small roach. Like, we could always just farm some small roach on something. But yeah, that's 8.9 silver. The markers are worth about 2 to 3 silver a piece. Okay. Let's get this going. Now, this spot has been hit or miss for people recently. So, especially for us without the actual carp boilies or corn or anything, this has the potential of being pretty painful, but I don't think there's a clip on this one yet. I do think this is what we want to try first. Now this one does have a clip. So if you're using a rod pod, notice how I do walk forward before putting it down. That tends to remove most of the slack. All right, and this one, once again, we're gonna go, somehow I didn't end up with 3 of the 60 gram. It's just very weird. Our purchasing habits have been sort of strange so far. But we're gonna go 10-meter clip on this one too. And that down like that. All right, there we go. Did I change all of the quiver tips? No. I did change some of them though. Okay, let's see if we get any fish here. All right, first, let's read some comments, because comments will also jog my memory of things that perhaps we wanted to try. So we have, and what do I want to do? Do I want to read just all the comments or just ones that are like either suggesting thing or asking questions? I don't know. Soldier of Odin, your guides are really helpful, not only for beginners, but also more experienced players. Thank you for your time and for making them. Whoops. Weekend FM, who was in my stream today. I remember you saying something. Have been looking forward to your guide since you mentioned on stream. Keep up the great work. I appreciate your kind words. Captain Malone, been around for a long time. The Mad Lad has done it again. Looking forward to the new series. Thank you, Captain Malone. Axis 270. I'm not new to the game, but I do have a huge suggestion. So, show and explain your float fishing technique. Oh, I liked this comment. This comment was very eye-opening because it really made me examine how I float fish, and it sort of made me question, like, is the way I float fish actually better, or is Axis just drinking the Kool-Aid like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid? But I will demonstrate this as Axis is suggesting. So we'll do 1 meter clip. We want to do a pretty small hook. And yeah, I think bread is probably fine. So I will do this in just a moment. Is there a fish on? Or is that just a nibble? All right, so let me finish reading the comment first. I have seen several people in your chat channel having issues with catching fish on float. You have a technique that I copied many years ago to make hooking fish on float easy. It's when the float goes down, you lift your rod tip and pull out the slack, then drop the pole back down and slowly lift again. It's almost foolproof for anything on float. I don't even know if you realize you do it this way, but it's also the way I've been doing it for several years now. It's hard to explain to someone, but it's easy to understand when you can show people in a video. It's that double rod pump that you do when catching a fish on float. So let me show you, now that you've heard him describe it, let me show you what I do if we can get a bite. But he is right. So the first lift that I do is a very gentle one, and it's just meant to set the hook. So just a gentle tug once the fish has actually taken the hook and is past a nibble and is on a bite. The first sort of gentle pull is meant to set it. I think we're going to get a chance here. And then I let it back down. The reason why I do that is because if I don't catch the fish, if the fish doesn't get hooked, then I want to set it back down and hope that the fish is still going to be there nibbling. Okay, so there's my first pull up, and then I follow it up with a second pull. And he's right. I do that every time, no matter what I'm fishing for on float. That is a habit that I have. It's just the way I go about it. All right, let's see, while we're waiting on this bite, let's see if there is a fish on. I know we had a nibble, but I don't think we have a fish on yet. All right, let's see if we can do it one more time. So I only pull and he labeled it as pulling the slack out, which that is technically what I'm doing. But what I'm actually going for is just pulling it enough to pull the float up slightly, because that just sets the hook in the fish's mouth, at least theoretically in my mind. And then I let it go, because one of two things will be true at that point. Either one, the fish is on, and you'll get the fish symbol at the bottom of the screen, and then you can just go ahead and pull it out. Or two, the fish isn't on. And if the fish isn't on, then I probably want that float and that bait to stay in that same position that it's already in. And so at that point, I just don't lift it a second time, if that makes sense. So I'm glad that this technique has been helpful for you, Axis, and thank you for pointing it out and calling me out to show off this technique, even though this is sort of a weird leveling guide where we've jumped to a high level map. So you see the first pull sets the hook, second pull brings the fish out. And the other thing we're doing right now is we're kind of on a common roach farm, which is what we talked about. All right. So, okay. Let's see. Next comment. Marcus says, nice idea. Hope very much new player finds this. Thank you. I hope so too. I hope it's helpful. Captain Blackbeard, who was in the stream today, also says, I'd be amazing if this series would continue to like Amber or something. Trying spots as the casual player, going carp fishing, spinning, trying to grind with all these new items that have been added into the game, or trying new combos just for the fun of it. Big like. The other thing that's kind of cool about us doing a little bit of float fishing here is you typically are early on an account. One of the things you're typically doing is actually leveling your float fishing, because somewhat at Mosquito, because all you have is, you know, that one feeder early on. So while you're saving for additional feeders. Okay, so here's an example where I over pulled on the first pull. And that's not why the fish wasn't caught. The fish just wasn't there yet. I probably was initiating it too quickly. But because I overpulled, the whole thing came out of the water and moved. And so it wasn't in the same spot. So that's like not typically what I'm going for. Okay, about the time zone. When you start a count, it's going to be 6 a.m. All time, but the game will sync time zone for normal time. Sync will be faster if you stay offline for a bit. And this is amazing. I actually never knew this. And so 2 or 3 people have responded with this. This was Demeter. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I apologize, but I never knew that. So what he's saying, if I can translate, when you start a new account and you get through the tutorial, the game is going to allow it to be 6 a.m. for you when you first come into the game, because what they're doing is they're trying to give you a full day of daylight to figure out a couple things, to get a little fishing in before you have to deal with not only how complicated the game is and how much you have to learn, but also you will have to deal with darkness, nighttime, not knowing where you're fishing at. And so hopefully if you've had a full day, you'll have figured out a few things. So I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently the game starts you at 6 a.m. And then over time, whether you're playing, but maybe it happens faster if you're not playing, if you're logged out. But over time, it syncs up with everybody else's time, because everyone is the same time, no matter what map you're on, all of that, you're in the same time in the game world. Keep doing this just a little bit longer. Okay. Heart from Jimmy. Challenge guide only level using spinning. I have to look back. I feel like I've maybe started a guide like that. I mean, it's just not who I am. I enjoy spin fishing in this game as a like secondary thing, kind of like float fishing. But my main thing is either carp fishing or bottom fishing, feeder fishing. And these days, I would also say just sea fishing is so fun that that's the other thing that takes up a lot of my time, at least before the most recent updates. This is the funniest comment, because it's a little critical, but then they had a follow-up message. It's just kind of cool. Funny to me as I read through it. Oh, are we actually getting a fish on our main line? So obviously garlic dough is too slow. I know it's middle of the day and that's going to be slow anyway, but I mean, this is just too slow on garlic dough. So we need to change it up to something else, I would say. This nibble on the float has pretty much gone away though. I think we're about to catch a fish on the first line. In fact, maybe we even have one on. Yes, the line is moving. I can see it. We have a fish on. Let's see what this is. It's another roach. Yeah, that's a little startling, isn't it? Okay, so oh, we had a fish on. I think I waited too late. Okay, so let me think about this. What do we want to change to? Garlic dough is obviously not working. Why don't we just switch to potatoes on this one? We haven't really gotten into any suggestions for bait yet, but all the comments I've read so far is all about episode 1. So we haven't even gotten to the episode 2 comments where I struggled on copper to at least do as well as I had hoped we would do in that first episode, which of course this episode we're arguably doing even worse, but I don't know. At least we're catching some fish. Okay, the last comment is bad fella. It's not a good guide because the best way to start is by fishing bleaks and then bream at Oldberg combined with bleaks. And then underneath that, another roach. 2.2 float fishing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't remember what size the order was asking for, but I do think it was pretty small sized roach. So we might go check it in a minute. But then underneath that, bad fella follows up with not like not good guide, but not the best. So I would say that what Badfella says here is actually very true. And I think there'll be some more comments that I can talk about this more in the next episode. But if you really are new to this game starting out, probably you're not going to want to just like rush off to copper like we have. You probably are going to want to stay free to play or stay in the starter areas. It's overwhelming enough. There's enough to learn without adding in these new extravagant maps. Now you might want to do these trips at some point, but right in the beginning like we did on this, you probably won't. And if you are doing the more traditional start, like most of my guides, previous leveling guides, the first things you do are catch crucian, gibble, roach, and or bleak, dace, some of those fish at winding. So according to which map you want to focus on, where the cafe orders are. And then you do, as you know, as he's saying, once you get to level 12 and get some starter feeder sets working for you, that's when you start fishing for bream at night. And still during the day, until you get gear for some other things, catching bleak during the day, that could be like your best moneymaker for a long time. And the reason for that is that you can catch bleak, that bleak are tiny. You can catch them with baits that you can either craft or buy for very cheap. They actually are worth decent XP and silver for a low-level player. And there's often cafe orders for things like bleak, or another one, early fish is like rough at mosquito. So that is correct. I mean, that is the more traditional. Now, to be fair, I've done that kind of start to leveling guides once, 1 to 2 times per year ad nauseum. So even in my own channel, you can find examples of what that looks like. Okay, let's go to episode 2. I would love to switch off of float here, but I was trying to see if we could get one more roach, so I kind of want to wait a little bit longer. I don't really want to eat that food, but we do need to get something. All right, second fish on garlic dough. Let's see if this one's any better. Looks like it's going to be another roach. All right, so that is 6 roach. All right, ooh. All right, we missed it. That's okay. Let's get this back out. And now we've got to decide what we're going to fish with. So we've got potatoes on one. Potatoes does seem to be very... Hey, you know what? Let's do worm. Wait, with a large one hook though? We can try it. Let's do one that's on worm. Let's just see what, if anything, that catches. I think somebody actually makes that suggestion in this next episode. But what's the third bait that we want to try? We could do another potatoes maybe. Or we could try corn. I was really hoping that corn was going to work last time and it just... Or maybe pearl barley. Honestly, pearl barley, I don't know if it would catch any of the carp or anything, but... You know, we know it'll catch the roach and crucian gibbles. And with a large one hook, it should occasionally catch a decent one. All right, let's go check that roach order real quick, and then we'll keep reading messages. I also might buy some bread from the grocery store so we're not a starving fisherman. Not that it matters too much, but at Mosquito and Winding you have free food. We just don't have free food out here. Okay, the Roach Cafe order. Yes, it was any size, 5, 6, so from 50 grams. So that's 15.48 silver for something that probably would have given us next to nothing in the selling the fish normally. And we're halfway there on rough. It'd be nice if we finish that up. Bream used to be great here. I just don't know if they still are. What else was I going to do? Do they not have a grocery store? Wait, that would seem weird, right? They do have a cafe, but the food here is pretty expensive. So I guess we're not going to be getting food here. So that's one thing we'll do next time is make sure we bring food with us. I guess we're just going to be a little starving fella for the rest of this trip. I mean, we do have a couple things we can eat. Could send myself some bread from my main account or something. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, let's make sure we don't have a fish on, and let's start reading some comments. All right, no fish on. Okay, so remember, now we're to episode 2. Some of you left some comments here. The Last Samurai says, or Samurai says, work is going faster with your video. Captain Malone once again says, seems like you need much more preparation for Copper trip compared to the Norway trip. Yeah, I could not agree more. That is a astute comment. And let's see, Stefan Alex says, you're doing great. Thanks a lot. Marcus says, you have the Tour Also Easy Rod Pod in your inventory for the time. And we did finally find that last episode, but it did take a minute. Uh-oh. First fish on, I think this is on worm, right? Large one hook worm. What do we think this is going to catch? Crucian gibble roach. Common roach. Hey, we'll take anything that actually has a bite rate to it right now, right? I know that's not ideal, catching a roach like that, but we'll take anything. All right, Poppy Flower says, thanks for the video. If you want to use float, then it's better to use bolo rod with honey dough for some nice tinch. Bolo rods are okay here. I don't know what the cheapest bolo rod would be, but that would be interesting. Squirrel Balo says, I would try other classics. Worms, night crawlers, maggots, casters. Most of those are fairly cheap baits that we could in fact purchase and try. Roaches like them, but those are always good for carps or tenches. Castor he's talking about for tench. Sometimes you get surprises with wheat or egg dough, though not with a good frequency, but how bad can it become? If everything fails, putting one rod aside with semolina and standard Gibble Crucian mix is an option, even though you don't travel to Copper Lake for those. So that's interesting. Maybe we should give semolina a try if we want to catch Crucian Gibble at a decent rate. Thanks for all the advice. Okay. So, well, at least it won't be too much longer till we really can head over to the rough spot. We've got, I think, 3 more comments here to go through. Cohen Russeveld, who I remember from many streams, he's been around. I think the biggest problem with the small hooks, size 4, you need at least a large hook or bigger. With potato, you'll catch carp with all 3 rods, and I think honeydoe too. And that's a good point. Maybe we just commit to potato on 2 rods and golden and honeydoe on 1 rod. And even if we only catch 1 or 2 fish a day, those fish have a chance to be really nice. They'd probably be a good fight, might be fun. And I'd probably have to pause the recording until the fish bite comes, because I'm not going to make you sit here and like watch that forever, because that could be pretty painful. But that's not a bad idea. Maybe that's even something we try over at the other side of the lake in the new spot. I don't know. Okay, and then Axis says, personally think you're better off getting 35 bottom skill. Now this, again, I love this comment. Axis had a great comment last video. Axis has another great comment in this video. Before using the trip. So did you hear what Axis said? 35% bottom skill. We're at 13.5 right now. So he's talking about classic hair rig, 35%. I think the trip is far more useful to go on closer to level 20 when the experience needed to start leveling starts to jump. You can make 100 silver an hour on Mosquito, which is basically what you made in this trip. Granted, you could get even luckier than you did, and that number would skyrocket. But I think it's more likely when you level your bottom skills more. I agree 100%. And after my experience last time, if somebody was asking for my advice, I would say don't do what we've done in this leveling guide. Don't come here at level, when did we come here? 7? Wait until at least you have classic hair rig unlocked with bottom fishing. It does not take long at all to get to 35%. Just catch the mess out of those crucian, gibbles, roach, whatever on feeders to get your bottom fishing up. And then once you've unlocked this, then you have a choice. Do you want to come now to your first trip, or even wait till 60% and come when you've got classic pop-up? I think it just depends on how committed you are to bottom fishing, and so how fast you're leveling it. All right, so this is on pearl barley, biggest fish of the day. Holy cow. What? can't take out pearl barley now, right? I wonder if this is going to crash my game again. You know, last time we actually crashed when I tried to find a chat channel. Yeah, that's just not working. You know, as cool as it is, I think we should turn off fog just to make it a little less taxing graphically. Okay, I really agree with this. Waiting to do your first trip to copper until you at least have classic hair rig unlocked. This is great advice. All right. Outdoor says it's worth it 5 hours and all you need is one F1. So true. All right. So there are all the comments from episode 1 and episode 2. Thank you so much for supporting me and this channel by watching these episodes, by leaving comments, liking them. Thank you. It does not go unnoticed, and I really appreciate it. We're almost level 11, by the way. So that's our first trophy on this account, right? And, ooh, yeah, something's going. I think trying to find that chat channel crashed us both times. I could be wrong, but I think that's what's happening. Oh no, now the cafes aren't even. Okay. All right. Okay, this is going to be interesting. What are our rods set up with? Nothing? So weird, isn't it? It goes back to the way they were. I didn't mean to do that. It goes back to the way they were before we played. It's like it resets them. Maybe it does that every time you log in, actually. Does it reset your trip? Maybe it does. Has anybody else been having this problem where, I don't know, it's like all of a sudden my connection to RF4 seems like it's getting very dicey. I've never had this issue until fairly recently, I feel like. I'm actually going to do something a little weird here. All right, do we think carp 1 or carp 2 would be better for carp, for bream? I'm gonna say that one, and then we're gonna go garlic dough. And I don't know, we'll do like a 12-meter clip just straight ahead. I just wanna see, did we determine if bream were still like somewhat active here? I can't remember for sure, but I feel like they might be. All right, which line has a fish on it? All right, so that rough was too small. We're so close to level 11. All right, that's interesting. We caught not a rough, but sorry, not a bream, but a crucian, which makes me wonder, maybe the bream aren't here. Is that what we figured out last time? Okay, let's see if we're actually catching rough. Okay, we are, but they seem to be small. Ooh. Seems to be a pretty small bite rate too. Actually, worm seems to be catching them at a better bite rate than red worm. Ooh, there's level 11. Oh, shoot. Wait, is this better than if we had been doing it on float? The best is if you're doing it spinning. Okay, here's a tip. When you hit level 11, this is your big and final gift as a new player. I think, although this float rod is nice, I think it's actually best. Wait, so we hit it on feeder, but we got float. Anyway, I think if you actually hit level 11 by doing spin, you get a really nice, like medium light type spinning setup that you can then use at Belaya. Anyway, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's the case, and it seems like that's probably the best value of what you want to earn in this situation. But that is cool. Like, we probably start using this as our main float fishing. It's got a little bit more strength on there. That'll be a nice deal. All right, what are we at on rough? 1, 2, 3, 4. We got to get 2 more before the night's over just to try to finish this cafe order. I think that's right, so I think we need 1 more. Was it 40 or 45? I think it was just 40. So let's go check and make sure I'm right, because if I'm right, then we just need 1 more. And then yeah, 6 from 40. We're so close. All right. Oh, this could be it. I think it's just heavy enough. I'm wrong. You know, we're already at 14.9 on feeder fishing. It's pretty awesome. What if we never can catch this last one? How has this line not caught a fish? This is red worm. This is like Ruff's favorite bait in the world. You know? Look at this fish we've caught on redworm. Now that we called out redworm for not doing anything, some perch or bream just came and just crushed it. Catch a bream using a feeder rod. The game is even like telling you, hey, this is something you should probably do. Catch more bream using feeder rods. Okay. Come on. Come on, rough. Don't be so rough. Yeah. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go turn this cafe order in just to get it, just to clear it, just to make sure I don't forget whatever. If we get disconnected, at least we'll have already done it. Then we're going to come by and pick up our rods, and we're going to go cast in at the other carp spot just for a few minutes, because at least we'll know. Wait, that's a brand new rough order. We now have 2 rough orders, guys. Okay. 6 pieces of rough, 39 silver. And then 5 pieces of rough that just have to be 20 grams for 25 silver. We just made bank on rough. A little trick from our mosquito days. All right, let me see where this spot is. I actually haven't physically been to this spot yet. All right, it's 3732. It's on the very south part of the lake. Of course, people are killing it with boilies and corn and stuff down there. We're going to throw in actual potatoes and honey dough. All right, let's set these up as we go just to make sure those other rods have plenty of time to sit there and catch us a nice fish. We're going to do carp 3. We're going to do large 1 hook, and we're going to put honey dough on this first one. Big fish on worm. Looks like it's another bream. The bream are still here. Can't tell how good they are, but they do still seem to be here. Carp 3, we're going to go large 1. The other 2 are going to have straight potatoes. Love to see it. Another marker rough to sell at the fish market. And once again, we're going to 3732, the absolute south part of this map. I have been down here on my main account, but not to this exact spot. But we have caught some nice dinks and C2s and stuff down here, but we'll see what this 3732 spot's all about. It is all the way around here, I think about as far as you can go. By the way, if you're curious, we have 2 days and 20 hours left on our trip, which means 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think is what that means. All right, so we're going clip 30, but we also do want to put our rod pod down. Clip 30. I think we want to cast like this, from what I can tell. All right, let's see if we get it 30 clip. Yep, just barely. All right, this one's already set up as well. So let's put it on clip 30, retrieval speed up. All right, guys, I am tired, but we're going to go just a little bit longer and see if we can get anything on 2 potatoes and a honey dough before we call it. All right, we have a nibble happening on potatoes at the moment. We actually have a fish on right now. Okay. It is a small common carp. 302 XP, we get points in bottom fishing, But hey, we caught a 2.4 kilo common carp. We will take it. Quiver tip is on too light, but it's okay. So just so you know, I am pausing every once in a while waiting for a bite, although this time it was pretty much immediate. As soon as I paused it, the bell started going off and we had a fish on. Looks like that's going to be another very small common carp. So we call it 6 of 10 fish with dough baits. So we have one on potato and one on honey dough so far. All right, looks like we've got another fish on potatoes again. And this bite did take a little longer to come in. Looks to be another fairly small, probably common carp. No. Ooh, so it's not a marker size. So it's not that much. But it is a cool carp that we haven't seen yet. The Dink's mirror carp. Ooh, that's kind of promising. If we get a marker one of those, we're kind of in business. I think we have another fish on honey dough too. But maybe not. It's at least nibbling. I feel like because we have such a weird connection to the game right now, like our little trick for seeing if there's a fish on isn't working right. Alright, that's definitely a fish on. Fish on honey dough. We are catching, what? Gibbles and crucians on honey dough some, but we also saw a common carp, so, I mean, you never know. One thing I don't understand, and maybe somebody can help me with this, I've never looked into this much, but I'm just curious about it. You see people that do a lot of float fishing for carp, cornmeal porridge is their go-to bait. And it's normally sandwiched with cornmeal and I think it's honey dough. Is that right? Cornmeal, that feels right, but if you look at telescopic records for almost any carp, that's what it is. Why isn't that a bait that we should use it on feeder? If cornmeal porridge catch carp so good on telescopic, wouldn't it work on feeder? I mean, I feel like it would, but I'm pretty sure if I put that on right now, it might work, but it would be painfully slow. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we should just try it, but it just is a head scratcher to me. I guess the thing is, this is such an unusual situation for us to be able to fish for carp at level 11. You're not normally fishing for carp until level 20 something probably. When you start to get equipment that's enough to even justify going to Oldberg or Bear and trying to catch smaller size carp. But by then you've got bottom fishing unlocked to the point where you can use boilies. So I don't know. Okay, is this going to be this is another Dink's. Is it going to be a marker? See how our net is too short? All right, it's Dink's mirror carp, 822 XP, 3.9 kilos. So at least we did catch one that was a marker. All right. The bites are a little slow out here. I have to say, we could probably fish with 3 potatoes in this spot and not hate life too much, you know? Something like a micro mirror carp. We are definitely seeing some new species in this episode. The other thing I have to remember is we have been fishing for like these past 2 or 3 in-game hours. These are the best carp fishing moments of the day. So it will only be slower kind of later in the day, if you know what I mean. All right, let's see what's on this other potato, and then I think we'll probably wrap up this episode. This episode 3. We've probably got 2 more episodes here at Copper before this first trip is over. Unless we do like a really epic longer one next time. I think we're going to have a fish on both rods pretty soon. I'm honestly like, this trip has showed me so much that at least with how Copper is right now, again, this is Russian Fishing 4. Fish migrate, we're going to learn new things, new spots, new baits that are working better than they were before. But at least how things are right now, I'm not really going to do this, but it's almost tempting to not finish the trip, to just go back to like normally scheduled stuff you would be fishing for at this level and just do bottom fishing as fast as we can to unlock I think that nibble went away. To unlock, what am I trying to say? To unlock carp fishing gear so that when we came back for our second trip, we could actually use boilies and stuff. I also am not opposed on this account to making a trip to Norway. I mean, I think, you know, Norway's a different place now than when it was last time I did a leveling series. So we might do a trip to Norway before we do a second trip to Copper. And, of course, we need to go about doing the normal fishing stuff we would normally do at Mosquito and Winding. And Mosquito and Winding, because let's be honest, we're not going to have that much silver from this trip. We might be able to purchase, by the end of this trip, we can probably purchase 2 out of the 3 starter fisher kits that are like feeder kits that are like $150 each. So that'll be cool. But, you know, we're not like raking in the money here based on how these baits are performing at Copper. All right, so let's go ahead and call it. And I'm going to run back to the camp so we can sell our fish and see kind of where we end up. I'll pause it till I get there. I'll be right back. Common Roach Trophy 38 silver, y'all. It's like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's another thing. Go in that spot where we caught the trophy and just put pearl barley in. Somebody said this in one of our comments. Put pearl barley in, do either Crucian Gibble ground bait or roach ground bait, and just see how good you could do. Like, how good would the bite rate be? I don't know. It's an interesting thought, though. All right, so 54 silver plus all of that silver we made off the cafe orders is why we have 178 silver at this point. So that's pretty encouraging. Now, if the store will, okay, the store did load. So I do want to talk about one thing before we wrap up this episode. And I'll try to talk quickly because we are burning time that we could be fishing here. But I tell you what, let's take a risk here since I always talk longer. Oh, shoot. Can anybody figure out like what I did that was making me say, oh, shoot? I was thinking like, we should just throw some like, basic setups in here. And that way while I'm talking, who knows, maybe we'll get lucky and catch one fish. It is just really awkward to me, though, that we have to reset these up every single time, I don't know what the best clip would be from here. but we're just going to do a 20-meter clip and just kind of see what happens. And we need to get one more 60-gram feeder, so we're uniform with those. And we're actually going to do our cornmeal porridge. We're going to put cornmeal porridge on all three. See if we catch anything here. While we're looking at the store really quick. So this is kind of some weird advice I'm about to give you, because basically I'm telling you, you shouldn't make this trip as early as we did in this leveling guide. However, if you've already made the trip, or if you decide to do it anyway, because what you've seen me doing here just looks fun, and you're like, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to make the first trip. There are a few things you should probably purchase while you're here. One thing I've already gotten, and that's 24 size hooks. And if you're new to the game and you think you might break some of your leaders or lines, I mean, heck, even me, having played this for years, it's very likely that I will. You might even want to get a fourth or a fifth one. 24 size hooks are just so important, and they're often out of stock in the early maps. So once you get to Oldburg and then Belaya and then Corey, you know, you'll probably find some by then that you can get, even if it's a more expensive brand of hook. But early on, you just often can't get them, and they are so important if you want to go the bleak route or the rough route, which are, honestly, you can make a lot of money off of. So those are hooks that I would consider. We're actually about to hit level 12, which means we could use carp hooks. I don't know. Yeah, level 18, 12, 12, 12. So we could get carp hooks, but I think these will be available in other stores. I'm not as worried about that. All right, so I guess I just want to say, if you know that you're going to want to do a lot of spin fishing, the Spiker 218 especially, there's other ones too, but the Spiker 218, it's nearly impossible to find sometimes at lower level maps, and it is a great lure at places like Belaya, especially, and maybe even Winding at times, but Belaya for sure. So sometimes it might be worth considering getting this lure, although that is expensive, 51 silver. What else was I going to say though? Baits. All right. Night crawlers, they can be really expensive and hard to find early on. I actually am going to get 30 night crawlers just so we have them. More importantly though than that to me are flies. I would get, so it only costs 10 for 30. I would get at least 60 flies, because you will make your money back and then some, a lot more than then some, off of bleak. Sometimes bleak, the best bait for bleak are flies. Usually there's other options, but sometimes it is really nice to have that as an option. Other baits, is there anything else that goes out of stock bait-wise? I don't think so. Nothing that's like that critical. Redworms honestly sometimes do, but you're also hopefully going to be digging, so hopefully that's not going to be an issue. I'm getting maggots just because they're so cheap and we don't have any. Same with casters, just so we have the option of trying some things. I think we have a fish on, which is very exciting. Is there anything else though that we... Oh, leaders. Feeder leaders. Fluorocarbon feeder leaders. These will often be out of stock. Okay, let's remind ourselves what we're going to be purchasing. So our feeder start. Oh yeah, this is an expensive store. I forgot that. Usually it's $149. Here it's $154. We're going to have a rod that goes up to 6 kilo load capacity, a reel that goes up to 3.8, but you can upgrade it. So anything under 6. So let's see, where are the leaders again? Feeder leaders. How close to 6? So it's probably 5.4. I think we probably want to get 3 5.4 fluorocarbon liters. And I think those are often out of stock. Okay, anyway, that's enough for now. If you have other ideas of things that you think someone should purchase before leaving the map, if they have if they've made the trip and they are pretty low level, please let me know in the comments section. That would be an interesting thing to note. Okay, so first fish we caught is actually a pretty healthy sized roach. So that is interesting. And oops, I think I just interrupted that bite. So it will probably not come back, and that is definitely okay. All right, so we'll have to do some more testing at some point. We did catch a fish though, and we had another fish that was about to be on there. Might have been a carp since it was nibbling like that. Who knows? All right, as always, thanks for watching. I will see you next time, and tight lines, everybody.